would it be Monday Night Nerd without some technical difficulties to start things off? Hello, everybody. My name is Myers Corp Cosplay, and welcome to another episode of Monday Night Nerd. If you are new here, hi. My name is Myers Corp Cosplay. I'm a cosplayer in the Southern Ontario area, and this is my show, Monday Night Nerd. We do this every single Monday night where we talk about nerdy things. We talk about cosplay. We talk about movies, music, video games, wrestling, and a whole lot more. Tonight's episode, we are talking all about cosplay and the power of cosplay and how it has made my life better and hopefully yours as well if you're a cosplayer. Usually we're going to start things off with the news as we usually do, but I do want to mention this is kind of a weird feeling for me because I've been going to Fan Expo Canada, which is usually at the end of August, beginning of September for the past 15 years. It has been kind of my holiday every single year, and every year I'm usually working on a new cosplay. I'm usually getting ready to debut it at Fan Expo. And I'm usually getting my headspace, getting ready, and spending most of my time in the other room building a new cosplay. And this is one of the few years where I'm not doing that. I'm not building anything new because I just built this guy behind me, Darius from League of Legends. And I've got nothing really to work on except some small little projects. I'm working on a 3D print for a friend of mine, and that's kind of it, just doing some little things here and there. So it just feels really weird right now to usually I'm okay, this is what I'm working on. I'm building this. I'm getting this ready. Fan Expo's in only a couple months. And I'm kind of just like kicking back with my feet up. And I'm actually going to go on vacation in a couple days. No episodes will be missed, folks, so don't worry about that. But like I feel weird not running by the skin of my teeth right now. So it's just an odd feeling for me, but I hope you're doing well. I hope you're getting ready for other conventions that are coming up, including Fan Expo Canada, which will be the next one I'm attending. It looks like it's going to be another amazing year. The benefits of me going to Fan Expo now as a cosplayer is I really don't have to care about who the guests are. I've met pretty much everybody I've ever wanted to meet. So now it is just get to go and dress up in these costumes and kick back and enjoy and have fun. Pretty Nerdy Crystal is in chat. No cosplay work tonight for me. I'm cleaning out the basement for a garage sale. I've got to throw a whole bunch of nerdy things onto Facebook Marketplace in the next few weeks because I got to get them out of my basement. I think that's it for kind of an intro. If you guys are here and you like nerdy things, if you're here on YouTube, if you're here on TikTok, throw a follow, throw a like, a subscribe. We do this every single Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're into cosplay or anything like that, follow me on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. If you're into wrestling, I have Myers Corp Wrestling on TikTok, where every single day I try and post something about something in the history of wrestling that happened on that day. I also talk about stories of meeting WWE superstars because I've been a volunteer at conventions for 10 years and have met many, many wrestlers over the years. So we do that and a whole bunch of other stuff. So follow me on all my social media. But I guess it's about time we get into the Monday Night News. Live from the multiverse, it's Monday Night News. It is time for the news, folks. Last week, I got the immense pleasure to see Supergirl before the rest of y'all. I was invited to the premiere in Toronto, downtown Scotiabank Center, Scotiabank Movie Theater, and I'm always very humbled that I get asked for these things because it's still kind of crazy that people would invite me to go to any of these things. It's something I definitely do not take lightly. The traffic to get in was an absolute pleasure to deal with because that night was a FIFA game. So getting through downtown Toronto was hectic to say the least, but I still had an absolute blast. We did a whole bunch of video shoots. There's a video compilation out there. I've shared it on my social media. There's some photos taken. We hung out with a bunch of other amazing cosplayers and some other people from the Toronto area. If you're into the influencer cosplayer scene, you probably know a bunch of them. We had a blast, and then we got to sit back and we got to watch Supergirl before everybody else. The reviews have come out. A lot of people have come out with their opinions because they saw it last weekend. I'll tell you right now, I liked it. I didn't love it. As I've said here on the podcast before and many times before, I absolutely loved the new Superman movie. I think it was one of my favorite comic book movies in years. But I didn't like Supergirl as much, but I didn't hate it. I think a lot of people are throwing a lot of hate on this movie, and I just don't feel it's warranted. It's not the best movie. I will be completely honest. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a perfect movie. There are a ton of flaws. There are issues with it. But I'm also someone who grew up with the 2000s Supergirl or superhero movies, and I'm perfectly happy with what we have now. The one thing that really stood out with me, the creature design in this movie is incredible. The amount of practical and CGI monsters and creatures that Supergirl runs into through her adventure is amazing. That was one of the first things that blew me away, was all the creature designs look really cool. All the makeup effects look really cool. I'm very happy with that. The story, you can kind of tell from the Supergirl trailers of something happens to Krypto and she has to find a way to save Krypto. That is the story. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what happened in the movie because I don't want to spoil it. It's still out. Still pretty new. Millie, who plays Supergirl, does a great job. I think she did a great job as the character. This is not your mom's Supergirl. This is a rougher Supergirl based off the one graphic novel. And that's perfectly fine. I grew up with Supergirl having a little bit of an edge. This is the same girl at one point in the comic book world who does get a red ring, a rage ring from the Lantern Corps. So she will, in my mind, she's always had that bit of anger behind her, and I'm perfectly fine with them doing that in the movie. The star of the movie is Lobo. Like, I don't think that's something that really needs to be. Everyone kind of assumed that. I kind of went in knowing that Lobo and Momoa was going to be the star of the show. He stands out more than anybody else. The villain Krem, who you've seen in the trailer, he's a meh villain, and I know a lot of people are crapping on that. I'm sorry, it's no worse than any other villain that we've had in most of these movies, unless it's a name brand villain that we all know and love. These are mostly forgettable villains, so I'm kind of used to it at this point. I'm not really upset that is a villain that is probably not going to get much screen time after this. The sidekick that she has to run around with, Ruthie, is probably the person that I'm I got the most annoyed with. She's played very, kind of, if you ever seen the Looney Tunes commercial of like Big Dog, Little Dog, or Big Dog, my buddy, my best friend Spike, and he's just kind of bouncing around him. That's where Ruthie's like. She's kind of like that, where she's like, but not pushing Supergirl to do it, more just, I'm going to do it. I'm going to seek revenge and all that stuff. And it just comes off really childish to me. But I can kind of push that aside. Overall, I think it's a fine movie. I think if you're a Supergirl fan, if you're a DC fan, go see it. I mean, I'm the first one to say you shouldn't listen to what I say about it. You shouldn't listen to what any other reviewer says, because there have been countless times where I have been fans of reviewers out there and they have said they don't like a movie, and I've gone and seen it and I've loved it. So I say go see it. I'm actually going to go see it again on Thursday with a couple buddies of mine because they wanted to see it before I got invited. But yeah, I don't think there's a big enough problem in this where it's not close to like a fan four stick or something like that, where it's a complete, oh my God, why did we make this? I think it's a fine movie. And I think we, with Superman, for some people, it's kind of having an Avengers Endgame feel, where if we get a Avengers or a Superman, in my opinion, or Dark Knight, let's say, these movies that are just 10 out of 10, everyone loves them, the next one, everyone feels like it has to match it. And I don't think that's possible. I think that's overextending and overthinking of what this movie is. It's just a good movie. It's fine. I wouldn't bash on it horribly. I think, like I said, there are issues, but it's not the worst thing in the world like some of these people are saying. Overall, go see it. I'm going to see it again. Another movie I want to talk about is a movie that I had no idea what it was until last week, and I was introduced it to by a coworker of mine, and I am now a big fan of it. And this is a movie called Sisu, and you may not have heard of it. I have seen the poster of it, but basically this is a sequel. It's called Sisu: Road to Revenge. It is an action movie. I don't think it's American. I think it's European. Basically what this movie is it's a sequel to the original. In the original, screw it, I can spoil it because I need to spoil it to explain the second one. Sisu: Road to Revenge is about an individual whose family is murdered. He is in Finland. His old home, his family's home, was in Russia. He has to go back to Russia. He disassembles his wooden house, puts it on a truck, and tries to get back into Finland. The problem is Sisu is someone who has killed many Russians over the years, and the Russian government and certain members of the government want him dead. This is a super fun, bloody action movie. It's about an hour and a half long. I was introduced to it by a coworker of mine who watched it and said it was really fun. It is very fun and it's very bloody, very gory, but it also has a little bit of that Buster Keaton Looney Tunes humor to it. Not a lot, but there are moments in it where it kind of doesn't break the fourth wall, but there are some things where I'm like, that's not real, but it's hilarious that it happened. It's really fun. It's, like I said, it's just literally a guy in a truck with a whole bunch of lumber in the back of his truck trying to get from one part of Russia back to Finland, and he is just getting bombarded. It's actually broken up into chapters. So like chapter 1 is him getting to the house, chapter 2 is taking apart the house, and then like every chapter they throw more at him. So I had a lot of fun. Go check it out. Sisu: Road to Revenge, a really fun watch if you're into an action movie. And the other people that I've told about this that are action movie fans have said, yes, they've seen the first one and they loved it, but they've not seen the second one. So highly recommend it if you are if you're an action movie fan. Shinobi is in chat. I believe that is Alex. And we have Marcy in chat. Hello to both of you. I'm glad you both could join us here tonight. And the only other thing I want to talk about here on the news is, obviously, as a video game fan, I talked a little bit about GTA 6 last week. Let's talk a little bit about it this week as well, because it was announced that GTA 6 will release in November, and it will not have a disc. If you want to play it on day one, you will have to digitally download it, or you will have to go buy a physical copy at a store, which will just contain a QR code or a code that you could redeem to get a digital version. And this has had a whole bunch of outcry from both sides of people saying that, you know, digital's the way it's going to go. They're kind of the first ones to lead with a digital only release. And then there's people who are want the physical disc and collecting and all that stuff. And, you know, this kind of hurts the third-party sellers who want to resell the games after. It's an argument that is going to go both ways, and I think both sides have a lot of good points. The thing that I think no one is talking about, and this kind of it's very similar feeling to how I said about Ocarina of Time, of when Nintendo announced Ocarina of Time, they released the trailer a couple weeks ago, and the first thing they did was they announced 2026 was going to be the year. Well, there's no way they just finished the game coincidentally. This is something I think Nintendo's been holding on to until they reached a point where console interest is low, sales have dropped, and now the price just went up. So now we're going to make a little more money because everyone is going to want to play the Ocarina of Time. With Grand Theft Auto 6, the thing that I don't think anybody is realizing is this is going to have some people double buy the game, because if you want to play it on day one, you're going to buy the digital copy because you got to be there day one because you got to be with everybody else playing it. And then all the people that want the physical disc will have to rebuy it later. So it's one of those things where I think everyone laughs and talks about just the piracy and they don't want leaks and stuff like that, which I'm sorry. I don't agree with the leak part, because let's say, for example, let's say, for example, we find out what happens on GTA 6. Someone comes out tomorrow and just tells us the entire story. Tells us this person, let's say Trevor makes a cameo, let's say Tommy Vercetti's in it, all these characters, all these people are in GTA 6, there's all these voice actors, you win these people pass away, da-da-da-da-da. Are you not going to still play the game? Like, really? I don't think we're in a world where people are going to be spoiled by this game and go, well, I never have to play it. I don't think that happens. So anybody that brings up they don't want it to leak and they don't want to spoil it, I think they think that, but I just don't think it's that big of a problem. I think the people that are wanting it have already pre-ordered it or are going to get it day one, and the people that don't, I don't think you're going to convince them by not spoiling it. But that's just me as an average fan. I'm interested to see what the game is going to be like. I will not be buying it day one. I have enough games to play downstairs. But as someone who has played all of the mainline GTAs before, I will probably pick it up at some point. It just will be a far down the line purchase. And I think that's it for the news, folks. If you're still here, if you can hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, all those things, it would mean a lot. And you folks on TikTok, if you could hit that follow button, it would mean a lot. We do this every single Monday night here on the channel. And other than that, I think we're just going to jump into the sponsor. Sponsor of the podcast, as always, is my beautiful, loving, amazing, incredible wife, because I wouldn't be here without her. I would not have this beautiful life without her, and I'm not doing that just to suck up. It is the truth. I love my wife, and she is a great, great person who has made me a better person and has allowed me to have a lot of opportunities in life. So, hun, you will always be my sponsor. And now, I think it's time we talk about the main event. It's time for the main event. Folks, it is the 29th of June. We are kind of in the middle of cosplay season, getting ready for big conventions because Fan Expo Canada here in the Ontario area is not too far away. And as I said earlier, it's kind of weird not building anything, not getting ready for Fan Expo, building a new cosplay, because I've got this thing behind me that is kind of what I built this year. So I'm already ahead of the game. I'm kind of just kicking back and enjoying building some little things. But I wanted to kind of talk about this because we've done a couple cosplay episodes recently where we've talked about, the culture of cosplay and how it's evolved over the years. But I kind of wanted to do sort of a general cosplay episode because we haven't talked about that in a while. We haven't really talked about just the things that have made me enjoy cosplay more than any other hobby that I've ever had, and why I think it's still such a great thing. Because as with any hobby, but especially this one, I see a lot of negativity about it online, and that's from people in the fandom, that's people not in the fandom. And they talk about the issues they deal with, and I'm not saying there isn't issues. Like, I will be completely honest. There are a ton of issues in cosplay, but there's a ton of issues in every fandom. So I kind of want to talk about the different things about it that I love and things that I think have made me better because of being in this fandom. Because when I first started in cosplay, it was back in like 2009, 2010, and I understood it was an art form. I understood you were building a cosplay. You were going to conventions possibly. But I just didn't understand what comes along with it, like the culture, like the groups, like going to conventions and meeting people and having a social media presence. Back when I started, we didn't have social media really. I mean, we had Facebook, but it wasn't what it is today. We have TikTok. We have YouTube Live. We have tutorials left, right, and center, and a whole bunch more. But definitely, I grew up enjoying cosplay before it became cosplay. Like, I remember, I've told this story before where I grew up being a wrestling fan. I'm still a wrestling fan. And I would get my washable markers and I would draw on the Ultimate Warrior's face paint. And I'd be downstairs wrestling with my wrestling buddies. And I would... anytime we had to, I clearly remember, I don't know if you guys know of this thing. I think it's called Soupy Like it's a bunch of people that an organization that hangs out at schools when schools aren't in session, and they do things with the kids. They play with them. They do activities with them. It's this thing that used to happen around here. I don't know if it still does. And I remember going to the school when I was a kid, and they were talking about dressing up or something. They were doing a costume contest, and I was on my bike, and I clearly remember hopping on my bike as fast as I could, riding as fast as I could back to my house, and getting like my mom had a leather jacket. I put on the leather jacket. I had like a little cap gun. I had black sunglasses, and I rode my bike back. And when I got back, I was like, oh, I'm the Terminator from Terminator 2. And nobody understood what that reference was because no one was able to watch Terminator 2, but I did at that point. And I remember stuff like that. I remember going to talking to my mom one Christmas and asking they used to have a RoboCop helmet that you could wear and like a can in hand that shot like Nerf bullets. I always wanted the toys that were things. Like actually up there, you can't see, but there's 3 of my old WWE toy belts, like the foam ones. And I've got like 20 of them at my mom's place because I wanted all of them. I wanted every single toy belt because that was more fun to me to play as the character than to have the toys. I did have the toys, but it was more the other stuff. And then I ended up going to Comic-Con for the first time, Fan Expo Canada, and ended up finding out that there was this thing called cosplay. And I was just like, oh my God, I found my tribe. I've found people that have the same interest as I do. And that's when I started cosplaying. And I started with my Terrence and Phillip, with my buddy Gavin. And through that, and especially at the time when I started cosplaying, as I said, there wasn't as much social media as there is now. There wasn't tutorials like there is now. There wasn't all this reference photos and all that. We had to kind of figure that stuff out on our own. We had to figure out how to be a problem solver. And I always, you've probably seen it online, and I totally agree with this. If you ever want to get anything done, whether it's a job, whether it's a physical job, whether it's a digital job or anything like that, you want to hire a theater kid. And I'm a theater kid. And the reason you want to hire a theater kid is that we can figure out the quickest way to do it on the cheapest budget. Because that's all we had when we were theater kids. When I was a kid growing up in high school and I was part of the theater class, we had to figure out how to get costumes for our production. So we went and grabbed stuff from home. We figured out ways to make things. And that's kind of what I brought into my cosplay. If you've ever seen my Terrence and Phillip, you can see it on my social media. It is literally just a red shirt with I didn't even paint the T on. The T is electrical tape, and the face is just cardboard with some fabric over top of it and 2 eye holes, and the tie is shoestrings. It's not even like elastic or anything. And it's those things that I learned through cosplay that I learned to be a problem solver. I hated problem solving when I was a kid. I always wanted the answer right now, which kind of works great when I'm when the world of AI right now. But I was able to figure out the answer to things because I was able to problem solve. And I learned that mindset of problem solving through cosplay because I didn't have a tutorial of how to do all the things I wanted to do. I was the one who picked the cosplays that weren't normal. I didn't get a Spider-Man suit. I wanted to do a Ghost Rider, which the only people I saw had sort of like a triangle point for a flame. And I was like, no, it should be a little kind of wavy and all over the place. That allowed me to kind of problem solve and figure things out. And it allowed me a chance to go to Comic-Con, and especially the first time with Terrence and Phillip, we were at the bottom of the South Building at Fan Expo Canada, which if you don't know, that's sort of the vendor hall is in the bottom of the South Building. And we were just standing there in our Terrence and Phillip cosplays, and people are lining up to take photos with us. I'm not kidding. We were probably standing there for 10, 15 minutes, just people coming in and out of photos with us. And it's probably my worst cosplay. It was my first, so it was probably my worst cosplay. But it's kind of it I didn't feel like myself. I didn't look at myself standing there kind of like a out of body experience and go, "Oh, I'm Mike in a costume." No, I felt like Terrence and Phillip. It's like when I put on Luigi, I feel like Luigi. I feel like a different person. And that's, if you saw my post last Thursday about the transformative side of cosplay, and that's sort of where I got the inspiration to do this episode, is like when you put on the cosplay, you feel like the character, in my opinion. I don't know if everyone else feels that way, but I sure do. Like if I put on Luigi, I know, okay, I'm a little more lighthearted. I'm a little more fun. I'm a little more energetic. If I'm wearing someone like Darius, my steps are a little heavier. I'm a little more, a little angrier, a little more grumpy. And it's the cosplay acts very similar to, as I said in the post, like a soldier putting on a uniform before he goes in a battle. Like if he just went out in a t-shirt and shorts, he probably wouldn't have the same mindset. If an athlete, like if you look at somebody like a Kobe Bryant or a Michael Jordan, they're walking around in just shorts, t-shirt, or suits. It's a different story than when they're literally in the back. They put their jersey on, they tie up their shoes, and they're getting ready for a big game. The cosplay is not just clothing, it's a function. It transforms you to a point where you just turn into the character. And I've always felt that way with my cosplay. I've always felt like that was, I don't want to say it's the one thing I do different than a lot of people, because there are a lot of people that I know do turn that gear and are able to do that. But personally, I've always felt like that's something that I've always enjoyed about cosplay, is that little bit of performance. And that's kind of that's another reason why I always try and sign up for the masquerades or the cosplay competitions at Fan Expo and Anime North. Like there are times where I know I'm not going to win, but I get the opportunity to go up on stage. I get to stand in my cosplay, I get to perform at Anime North for a minute. And even if I go on stage at Fan Expo, I get to, stand up there and do a couple poses. It's still fun to me going up there and just enjoying the performance side of it, even if I don't win. And with going to these conventions and doing these performances, you also get the benefit of meeting a community. Like I can tell you right now, there are a couple people in the chat that I wouldn't know and wouldn't be here if I didn't cosplay. There's probably I would say 80 to 90% of the people who follow me on social media is because of cosplay. Like that is, I made a choice back in the day to start this hobby, and not in the way of I'm going to do this to make money. I'm not doing this because, and I want to stress that I have been offered many different, I've been offered by Facebook to join their partnership program. I've been offered by a couple other people to do partnerships and stuff like that. I'm not in this for the money. Like if I get paid, that's great. I just like doing it. And part of that is meeting you guys and forming friendships. Like Pretty Nerdy Crystal, I don't think they're going to care, but like Pretty Nerdy Crystal and Freakish Workshop, like we get on a chat every couple days and we'll just be working on stuff and shooting the shit and talking about stuff while we work on our cosplays. That's pretty darn cool. And I wouldn't get that if I didn't go to a convention. If I didn't go to a convention and not be nervous and talk to the Geeks & Co., I wouldn't have made friends with them. I wouldn't have been invited onto their podcast. I wouldn't have realized how much fun it is, and I wouldn't have started this. So this entire podcast is because of the Geeks & Co., because I started cosplaying. It's the people and not just the friendships, but the opportunities that come out of those, of just meeting people, going to the premiere of Supergirl. I wouldn't be doing that if I didn't cosplay. So it's really something that, because I've been so open about my enjoyment of this and the love and the friendships that I've made because of this, it's allowed me to grow as a person. It's allowed me to have opportunities. And, I see a lot of people I shouldn't say a lot of people. I see some people lately, getting really fed up with the cosplay drama that goes on, and maybe they get some really bad comments from people, and that's terrible. Like, that absolutely sucks. But I just sit back and I go, man, I really wish you could see it from my eyes, because, man, it is such a good community to be part of. It's such a fun way of spending my free time. Like, I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I'll bring it up again. I'm a big gamer, and I'll tell you right now, I am closing in, and I mean closing in as in I'm probably within 50 trophies of 10,000 trophies on my PlayStation. I've had my account since the PS3 when trophies first started, and I've been playing video games hardcore for that long, so that I'm almost about 10,000 trophies. And at one point, that was the thing. Like, I just loved playing video games, but then I realized I wasn't getting anything out of that. I was just collecting trophies, and there wasn't a community out there that was happy that I was doing it. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I wasn't enjoying it as much. So I could have been doing that, but now I get to do this. I get to be on I get to do a podcast. I get to hang out with you folks on TikTok. I get to go to conventions, and I don't even mean get to go to conventions as I get invited. I just like going to conventions. Like, that's the fun part, is that I know there are a lot of people out there that want to be invited to conventions, and I, of course, would love to be invited to conventions, without a doubt, but I'm also just fine going to some of these conventions because I just enjoy going. I enjoy spending time there. I enjoy, yes, it's the same booths and etc., but I still like going because it's still fun, because that's what they should be, fun. And I think that's the real reward of doing this, is going and enjoying the community that has grown from cosplay. But, another aspect of going to these conventions and building these cosplays over the years is, as I said earlier a little bit, the problem solving. And this is something that it has always been something that I've enjoyed, because it has been able to, as I said, stretch that muscle that I was never really good at. Through, and especially now where I'm able, for the most part, to do 3 kind of cosplay techniques. I'm good at foam smithing, says the thing behind me. I'm also a 3D printer now, so I'm learning how to do 3D prints properly and make them come out as clean and as crisp as possible. But I'm also learning to sew, so I'm going to have 3 specialties that I can kind of bounce around. And that's 3 different mindsets and 3 different ways of doing things. And the cosplay has allowed me to learn skills that I've always wanted to learn, but then also things that I never thought would benefit me in ways that have helped outside of cosplay. Like, for example, I've always wanted to sew. You can ask my mom. I asked her 100 times growing up, but she knew how to sew, so it was a lot easier for her to just take care of it. Now I know how to sew, and now if, say, something tears on something, I can do a quick fix. I don't have to go ask, or I can just literally go in the other room and fix it. With foam, learning things, the uses of contact cement and different adhesives. We've had things break throughout the house, and my wife has been, "Oh, do you mind fixing this?" And now I know what glues work better with what materials. I know that if it's something glass or something something like a dish or a little china thing, okay, I need to use a certain type of glue. I can't use just hot glue because it's not going to work. The one that I love talking about the most was at my old apartment when I was with my wife, and we, as sadly most apartments, we had a mouse problem, and we contacted the landlord, and they really didn't do anything about it. And we knew where the mouse was coming from. It was underneath one of the cabinets, and they had a nice giant hole there, and we put tons of stuff in there. We got the spray foam, it didn't work. I put EVA foam under there, it didn't work. We even put like the scrubbing metal scrubber thing in there. They ate through that. You know what actually worked? One of those scrubbers in, and then I got Warbler and I wore blood underneath to make sure it stayed tight. And that solved the problem. And if it wasn't for cosplay, I wouldn't have Warble laying around, and I wouldn't have thought, I can melt this and make it even a nice thermoplastic would probably seal that nice and tight. And if I put the metal abrasive sponge inside, it won't be able to chew through that and get through the thermoplastic. So again, if it wasn't for cosplaying and having to figure out different ways to problem solve, I wouldn't have just been lost. I would have been like, all right, I'm just going to have to keep calling the landlord to come up and fix this. So it's stuff like that I've really, really learned to love about this art form. And especially after doing this for 15 years, really seeing the type of person I am now. And as I said, at the sponsorship part of it, it is partly because of my wife, because she has allowed me to enjoy this hobby, because let's be honest, it is kind of an odd hobby. It's kind of a hobby that takes up a lot of time. And I could definitely understand that there are some partners out there that don't understand or appreciate this art form as much as we do. Like, let's be honest, there are some people out there that just look at this and go, this is weird, I don't like it. And that's their choice. That's their, they can do what they want. But I thankfully have a partner that completely understands how much this means to me, supports me 100%, allows me to go off and enjoy conventions multiple times a year, and she stays here with the animals. So, I thankfully have a great life because of that. And with this, we talked about this a little bit earlier with the performance side of it. I've really got to enjoy this performance side of it, because I did grow up as a drama kid. As I said, I was a theater kid. Took drama class many, many years through high school. And I've always wanted to do more dramatic performances. And, I've gone for a couple auditions for local theater and stuff. And it's just never been something that I've really wanted to put a whole ton of heart into. And that's mostly because I'm more of an improv actor. Like, I really remember in the last year of high school, we had a performance, and I just totally made up the lines at the performance. I blanked completely what the lines were, and the other co-stars were so frustrated because they were just waiting for certain cues and certain lines, and I'm like, I forget it, I'm just gonna improv it. And I think I did great, and the audience thought I did great, but I could tell it was really frustrating to them. So anytime I've tried to do any type of line reading, any type of memorization like that, it just doesn't work. Like, I could turn the camera around right now, I've got a bullet point list of things I want to talk about here, but it is not in any way memorized. It is not in paragraph form. It is literally 7-8 words per line, just so I can make sure that I talk about each thing. And I've always been more comfortable with that, and I feel like that works very well in this cosplay world. It has allowed me to get that performance side of myself out without the constrictions of having to deal with other people who work with different ways and are co-stars that are better at memorization and are waiting for me to do certain things. I just get to improv and get to enjoy. And, if you've ever been in a cosplay, if you're ever in a character and a little kid runs up, you can't really just, hey, I'm Jim and I'm Spider-Man. No, you have to become Spider-Man. And you're kind of stuck in that moment of being Spider-Man. And I love that. Like, there was definitely a moment at last Toronto Comic-Con where someone came up, I was dressed as J. Jonah Jameson, and they started to go with me about the way the Daily Bugle runs. And usually most people take there's a couple back and forths, probably, 3 or 4 back and forths, and then they walk off. This guy kept going. Like, to the point of, like, does this guy think I'm actually Jay Jonah? Because he's getting a little heated with, like, oh, I can't believe what you did to Eddie Brock. And I'm like, what the hell did I do to Eddie Brock? Because, like, I'm a comic fan, but I'm pretty sure, like, he became Venom, and that's about, like, how deep are we going into the lore? But that allows me to sort of get that muscle and enjoy that little back and forth with improv. That, like I said, if I was doing something that wasn't this, it was more of an acting side, I'd have to remember dialogue, I'd have to remember lines. I love listening and watching movies and listening to audiobooks and hear people do big giant monologues, and I'm like, I couldn't do it. There's no way I couldn't do it. I'd be lost after line 2. It just wouldn't work. But that is kind of something that I've absolutely fallen in love with cosplay, is just getting into the mindset of that character and enjoying that interaction with the fans, especially when they come up. Jay Jonah is like the prime example and the best one for me, because I can just, he's attached to Spider-Man, but I can use him in many different Marvel forms. Like, anytime a Spider-Man comes up, I can just rip him to shreds. But then if it's someone like a Daredevil or something like that, I can still riff off of that because it is still in the MCU. And that has worked so well with the community side of it, because that also helps build the community, because there's definitely been some people that I have run into over the years that have followed me and have messaged me privately and have said, man, that was so fun that you were able to just bounce off with me, because they were, even if I'm JJ and it's a Batman or something, I'm just like, wow, a hero we can actually love. And I would love to print an article about you, especially if you beat the daylights out of that webhead Spider-Man. That's the fun stuff that helps build that community. And it is the thing of going to the Comic-Cons just makes it so much better, because you could be a cosplayer online. Like, you could have a successful, great time doing everything online, 100%. You just want to post, you don't want to go to a Comic-Con, mazel tov, enjoy. However, it's an extra layer that just makes it so much more fun. And having those shared experiences of going to Comic-Cons and having, meeting up and doing a photo shoot, or meeting up and having just, all the Marvel characters meet up, or all the Dragon Ball Z characters meeting up. That is so much fun. It allows for growth in the community and the building of the friendships that I don't think there's a lot of fandoms out there that have that. Like, I remember when I did the Metallica show and I did the behind the scenes thing and I paid all the money for it, I made a couple, I'll say friends, associates. Like, I haven't talked to them since then, but that weekend, because it was a full weekend, I was able to, every time I ran into them, I was, hey, how's it going? And have that sort of banter back and forth. With cosplay, you meet these people, you meet other cosplayers and even fans and photographers, and they may follow you on social, and then you may become friends. Like, Pretty Nerdy Crystal, I don't know if you know, like, she stalked the hell out of me for like 2 years before I even said hi to her. She used to keep coming up to me in all these cosplays. I had no idea who she was. She terrified me at first, but man, I'm kidding. No, like, stuff like that where, like, we would run into each other at every single convention, and we ended up just chatting, and now we ended up chatting every single day, pretty much every other day. And she's probably writing something really mean right now in the chat, where she's probably calling me every single word. I want to remind you that if you put anything cursing in there, I'm gonna, okay, it was just ha 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 ha. But that is the benefit of doing things like the conventions, and even things that are bad. Like, I think that is something that gets overlooked, is that even if you go to a convention and say the group of you, say like 3 or 4 of you get tickets, you all go to a convention, and the convention is horrible. It's horrible. It's the worst convention you've ever been in. There is a benefit to that, though, because you all got to deal with it at the same time, and you all have this memory together that will always connect you. And then in 5 years, you can look at each other and went, Remember that horrible Comic-Con we went to? Oh my God. What a crappy. Remember when that happened? It's those common things of going to these events and bringing people together and sharing the fandoms and the moments together that just makes it so much fun. And I think that's part of the reason why we keep going back year after year. Like, we know Fan Expo could be doing a lot more for the cosplay community. I think that's kind of obvious at this point. But we still get to enjoy ourselves. We still get to have fun. I will be completely honest here. I will clip this. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there is a part of me that I have requested, I have applied to be a guest at Fan Expo for the past many years. I don't get picked. I haven't gotten picked yet. I'll tell you right now. I don't think I'm going to get picked, seeing what date it is. There is a part of me that's thinking, do I just say I'm going to do a panel and just like do a panel out on the grass across the street? Like, why not? If I promote it on social, why wouldn't that work? Why wouldn't a cosplayer be like, hey, I want to do a panel about my favorite video game, the new Marvel Tokon or whatever. Let's go outside and I'm going to do a panel about it. The only difference is one's inside with a microphone, one's outside. It's the same thing. So I love that we are in a world now and a community that we could just do that if we feel like it. If we want to just go, and if the con's not going to support us, let's just have fun and enjoy it for ourselves. I think that's pretty cool. And as I said earlier, we do live in a world where we do have so much content creation, and the cosplay community is just full of different types of content over the years. You know, we've got the people who do specifically sexier cosplays. We've got the people who do tutorials. We've got the people who have opinions on different things that are happening in the cosplay world. And overall, over the past 15 years of doing this, it has become so much bigger and so much better. And I want to stress that. Like, again, I know there were problems in the cosplay community. There's a problem with every community everywhere. There's always going to be bad apples. It is never going to be 100%. However, I think overall we're doing pretty good. And in a community now, in a world where we have so much social media and technology, it's so much better and so much easier to become a cosplayer. You know, we've got platforms like YouTube where you could go on here and see different tutorials. Like if you went on this platform and went to Myers Corp Cosplay on YouTube, you can find how I built some of my cosplays. But you can go onto YouTube and find tutorials. You can go on TikTok and find little things of people going, hey, I tried this and this doesn't work, but if you try it this way, it might work. You know, back in the day, it wasn't easy to solve all these problems. And I think it's so much better now, because back before, and I've talked about this before, when I wanted to make a Power Ranger helmet, I remember being on the patio of my apartment, and I'm like, got like Bondo and cardboard and all these things, because that's the only tutorial I could find of how to make a Power Ranger helmet. Now I can come on here and I can see this is how you make it out of foam. This is how you make it out of 3D printing. This is how you make it out of this. This is how you make it out of that. The way we can share the information, the way we can see, you know, even the media now is 1,000 times better. Like, man, back in the day, I wish we had the high def photos now. We've got people like the Borderlands crew who, before the game's even out, they're putting out literally their cosplay images for cosplayers, and they're saying, here's a 360 of what the characters look like. This is how each individual part looks and all the sides. Go nuts, make them. That's amazing. We never had that 15 years ago. So, you know, today's world and the way we've used technology to our advantage and are able to share all the information we're learning is so cool. It really is. And that goes back to the community. because we have such a strong community. We want to share what we've learned. We want to share, hey, I made this, and by the way, this is a terrible thing to do. And I've said it here. That axe back there, I built that interior out of pink insulation foam. Do not build yours out of pink insulation foam. That stuff is a giant pain in the ass to cut. It is a giant pain in the ass to make it curved. Use foam board or something like that will keep it sturdy. Don't use pink insulation foam. If I didn't have the technology, I would have just built that and went, hey, if I ever run into somebody who has ever made that, I'll go, did you build yours this way? Because my way sucks. There's no other way to share it. But because we have the community, because we have the technology, it's so easy to find all the information you need now. Which, with that information, we also, the yin and the yang of it, though, is, as I talked about earlier, there are people who are sadly having to deal with the backlash of posting things on social media, because that's just the way social media is. Whether it is cosplay, whether it's wrestling, because I see it on the wrestling side, whether it's a sport, whether it's music, whether it's anything, you will always find somebody online who is going to want to tear you down. And the cosplay mental health conversation has been going on for 15 years at this point, and it will continue to go on because it is something that is very important, and it is something that I want to do my best to grow, because personally, and I'll be completely honest, I'm a white guy. I don't have to deal with it as much as a lot of people out there. I'm not LGBTQ. I'm not female. I'm not every other race under the sun. So I'll be completely honest. I know I have the light job compared to a lot of people, but I still want to foster that positivity because, like I said, this is such a great community, and there are flaws, but overall, we are a very accepting group. We are a very, push the people and help people grow as cosplayers. And also with that, I do feel like with building cosplay specifically, I do feel like there is a bit of struggle in building a cosplay personally that I enjoy a little bit. Not a lot. There are times when I get frustrated, but there is a little part of me that does enjoy that struggle of the build because it is helping me become better at life outside of cosplay, and knowing that, hey, I found all this stuff was a pain in the ass and I got so frustrated, but when I go out into the world and I have to deal with, maybe it's a bad day at work, maybe it's somebody cut me off in traffic, I'm like, hey, you know what? I was able to deal with this last night. I think I can handle this. And also, once you get past that and you get to the finish line and you build that piece or you finish that cosplay, that is a pretty good feeling of accomplishment that I don't think I've had anywhere else. Like, I've beaten many games and it's fun, but you kind of just, all right, we're on to the next one. You finish a movie, I'm on to the next one. I have my drum set back here, and I'll play my drums. That's fun, but nah. When I'm done a cosplay, man, there is that moment of just like, good job. And I don't know if that's just me. Maybe I'm the only one that does that, but man, when it gets finished and I'm just kind of looking at a done product, I get to take that moment, and it just feels good to be like, man, I did that. I took something that was just a flat piece of foam and a whole bunch of fabric, and I built something out of it. Like, that's kind of cool. That's probably how construction people feel. And I do think that's something that needs to be shown off more. And I'll be completely honest, I need to do this more. I need to show the failures. I need to show the struggles more, because if you're a cosplayer out there, or if you're, more importantly, someone who's starting to cosplay and you look at people like a Jessica Negri or a Yaya Han or a Night Mage or all these people that are big in the cosplay world, and you're like, man, their stuff is perfect and and all they have to do is wave a magic wand. Not even close. No cosplayer, if they're being honest, just waves a magic wand and everything worked out perfectly. Every cosplayer fails. Every cosplayer just it doesn't work 100% of the time. That's why I love that cosplay competitions are now doing the green awards or whatever they're called. The not they're using reused materials and not using too much garbage. They're not Your cosplay doesn't make a lot of garbage, and I always laugh at that because I'm like, I don't care what material I use, I'm gonna screw up 3-4 times while making this. So I don't know if I'm ever going to be up for that award because, let's be honest, I don't think even the best cosplayers out there have everything worked out, and sustainability awards, that's the word. I won the sustainability award because some people would be like, I saw someone use trash bags as the webbing of wings, and I'm like, that's cool, but I'm like, man, I would have screwed up that 5-6 times trying to figure out how to do it to be like, yeah, it's sustainable, but I threw out 4 versions of it because it didn't work. But I do love that, the irony of that. But over 15 years of doing this, I gotta say, like, this is one of the coolest hobbies I can think of. Like, the benefit of, you get to create something, even if you buy it, you get to dress up as something, you get to get your photo taken if you want, or you take your own photo or your own video. You get to post it online to a bunch of people who are going to probably support it and love it because that's what the cosplay community does. You get to possibly go to a convention, meet other people that are very similar, like-minded. They might like the same fandoms you like. They may not. They might like something else. Can anyone tell me another fandom that has all of those benefits? Like, if you're a fan of a sports team, you get to watch them on TV, you get to wear a jersey, you get to go to a game. You get to possibly play with your buddies in a beer league. I think there's more to this that you get to do if you get to be open about it. And I was kind of looking into the comparison of, I mentioned earlier about the tribe. Cosplay in its most basic form is that. It's tribe. We wear a certain type of clothes that we all kind of, to a point, show off that we are part of the tribe. Whether it's a giant princess dress, whether it's a giant Warhammer cosplay, whether it's a Leia bikini, whether it's a Spider-Man Zentai suit. Language we use like a tribe. I don't think there's many people out there using foamsmith, warbler, furry, and stuff like that outside of cosplay, outside of this community. We have rituals. Some of us will drive hundreds of miles to meet up with similar tribes in similar areas to find out what their rituals are and get to experience their rituals, like going to another Comic-Con. What is my tribe in Ontario? What is New York's tribe similar? Is San Diego's tribe similar? I don't know, but there's part of me that wants to travel and find out. And in the end, we love bringing new people into this tribe. We love the new generation of cosplayers. We might not agree on everything. I know that there's cosplayers out there that would rather us go back to the Marvel type of cosplay now that we're way more anime based. But there's probably a generation before the Marvel cosplayers that were Star Trek and Star Wars and only did sci-fi. And then the comic book people came in and they're like, it's not the same. There's people that look at Comic-Con and it's just not the same because it's not comic based. It's all, everything else. It's tribe, and tribes change and tribes evolve. And I like that. I feel like if we stuck with the same stuff every year, it'd get boring. But I know every single year we're going to get new cosplayers into the tribe. We're going to get new people who want to evolve the tribe and try different things. And want to bring it to a bigger place and make it better. And I love that. And I love being a part of it because it has allowed me to grow. It's allowed me to be a better person. And it's allowed me, most importantly, to meet cool people like you, hopefully, whenever we go to a Comic-Con. I like this tribe. And I'm going to do my best to try and keep it this way. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me talk about cosplay. It's a lot of fun, and it's definitely not a hobby that I would stand up on a mountaintop and fight the world for it. I'm just going to enjoy doing this and enjoy cosplaying, and I hope you do too. And if you do, great. I appreciate it. If I'm not your cup of tea and you know, that's cool too. You go enjoy cosplay and whatever you want. That's the benefit of today's world. Billion different things out there, billion different ways to enjoy them. Next episode, we're gonna be back next week. This is so weird that in Canada we have Wednesday off this week. Usually we have a long weekend right now because of the holiday, but we don't. We have a random Wednesday. So usually this week or next week I would have the day off because I usually don't do a podcast when we have a holiday, but we'll be back next week. We will be back next week. We're going to do a music episode. As I say, every single week we switch things up. We talk about different things, different fandoms and stuff that I'm a fan of. Specifically next week, we're going to talk about Kiss. The band Kiss. I've been a big fan of theirs since I was a little kid, and some of my favorite Kiss stuff is their unmasked stuff in between, you know, the Creatures of the Night being their last, the Lick It Up album being the first, and Revenge being the last of the unmasked era of Kiss. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about what I like about it because I think that is a generation of that band that I think a lot of, even the hardcore fans kind of throw to the side, but personally I have a lot of love for it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the albums and a whole bunch more. If you're still here, I greatly appreciate it. If you can hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, all that stuff. Same with you on TikTok. I am on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I am on YouTube, obviously. If you want to follow, if you're watching on the podcast and you want to follow my cosplay account, it is at Corp Cosplay. If you want to follow my wrestling account on TikTok, it is Corp Wrestling. We talk about wrestling stuff every single day over there. And I'm going to, this week, I'm going to go see Supergirl again for the second time. And I might actually do a double header that night because the Supergirl movie does not start until after 7 o'clock, and I get out of work early that day. So I might actually have I might have a new movie review next week. I might do a double header. So we'll talk again about my second thoughts of re-seeing Supergirl, and we'll talk about maybe Toy Story 5, maybe. But you'll have to tune in next week to find out. Have yourselves a great night. I'm going to go play a little more Horizon Zero Dawn and relax for the evening. I hope you have a great week, and I hope to see you again next week here on the show. I love you all, and I will see you very, very soon. Take care, folks. Thanks so much for watching Monday Night Nerd. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any new episodes.